Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα σας. Έχουμε την τιμή και τη χαρά να έχουμε κοντά μας σήμερα τον πρέσβη της Δημοκρατίας της Αρμενίας στην Ελλάδα, Τιγκράν Μκρτչιάν. Να καλωσορίσω τον πρέσβη στη συντροφιά μας. Κύριε Μκρτչιάν, σας ευχαριστώ θερμά που είστε μαζί μας.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor.
I understand that you speak a little Greek, which is why the first address was in Greek, but of course we will take it in English from now on.
Thank you.
To get the elephant out of the room, I would like to start this discussion with a big issue of these days, which is the war. What is your country's official position regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine?
The official position is, of course, supporting the peaceful solution of the conflict, supporting both sides actually to reach this solution, because it's a human tragedy which is evolving in Ukraine, with the first and the third biggest Armenian communities in Europe, the biggest one being in Russia and the third biggest one being in Ukraine. Therefore, Armenia is doing everything it can, its best, to first of all to safeguard its country fellow men who are unfortunately involved in this conflict from both sides, and we wish a quick solution, peaceful solution, of course, exclusive peaceful solution of the conflict in Ukraine.
Now, what are your biggest fears about war? How much and do you think, and where is it likely to expand?
First of all, one of the biggest fears is naturally the human tragedy which is happening, the deaths, the people who are dying, of course, in Ukraine. Naturally, it's also having a huge impact on the outflow of migrants, refugees, and you can understand there are lots of Armenians who are trying to evade from there to reach either Armenia or to the neighboring European countries. So our diplomatic missions are fully, engaged in trying to safeguard our country, fellow countrymen. And naturally, of course, as you rightly mentioned, the possibilities of conflict spreading around, becoming fiercer is a huge concern for everybody. And this is what the international community should work on with the parties engaged in the conflict to avoid. This one of the reasons that we are witnessing this tragedy happening is also in a way related to a situation that happened in and around Armenia in 2020, which was the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. So I will stop there because I believe you might have other questions.
And this is where I want to take this conversation to right now, Mr. Ambassador. Armenia has been deeply hurt by the 2020 conflict with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh. Will the wounds of this war close, or is there a fear of reopening?
Thank you for the question. Actually, one of the issues here we have is that what we're witnessing right now, and this is a big concern, of course, for us, is that Azerbaijan is taking advantage of the situation in Ukraine and is trying to escalate the situation near the border with Armenia, as well as in and around Nagorno-Karabakh. So what we have witnessed over the past few weeks, there has been escalation of violation of the ceasefires in various points, including also on the borders with Armenia, where a soldier was recently, just a couple of days ago, killed, unfortunately. An Armenian soldier, and also sniper is being used against Armenian villagers and people living there. Just yesterday, this night, the entire night, in the north, eastern and south eastern areas, borders of Nagorno-Karabakh with Azerbaijan, there have been shellings using mortars, all sorts of weaponry, scaring the villagers also to leave from these areas. Very strangely, also, Azeris are using loudspeakers to warn people to leave these areas because they claim that these are not theirs. These are Azeri lands, so to say, as they use in their proclamations. But the entire thing is that, using the opportunity to further scare the people to leave Nagorno-Karabakh and also to increase the tensions with the borders on the borders with Armenia. Also, something very striking, very strange. We witnessed just a couple of days ago, also the blasting of the main gas pipeline, which is providing gas and electricity basically for 120,000 Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh. And after that, the Azeris have not let the restoration of the work for the gas pipeline, basically depriving people of the very basic fundamental rights and trying to do everything to empty Karabakh of Armenians, which is absolutely unacceptable. And this is something that we need to raise, and the international community also needs to. We understand that the entire attention is right now on Ukraine, but there is another issue which is simmering in the South Caucasus as well.
Mm-hmm. Given what you have just described me, I suppose making amends with Baku and Yerevan is like something that is a very far away scenario for now. But can it ever happen without the need for third-party mediation? A role that was played by Russia in 2020. Russia guarantees the security of Armenia and the maintenance of the ceasefire. Isn't that so?
Russia is not the guarantor of the security of Armenia in this case. It's the guarantor of the peace agreement, which was signed by Armenia and Azerbaijan, co-signed by the Russian president. So Russia is equal partner in this situation and is trying to make sure that this kind of violations do not happen. But you're right that we are not so close to reaching a final solution of the conflict. The conflict is not solved as much as Azeri leadership claims that it is solved. It is not solved, and it is acknowledged by everybody around the world, especially the Minsk Group co-chairs, the Russians, the Americans, and the French. The French president just yesterday, when our Prime Minister Nicole Pashinyan was in Paris, he reiterated the French position that France is ready to help the solution of the conflict because the conflict is not yet solved. It's not yet resolved. So another dimension to this situation is, of course, the border with Armenia, because when Azeris have entered the southern territory of Armenia, almost 45 hectares of Armenian territory in the southeastern part of Armenia is occupied by Azeri soldiers, and they are refusing to withdraw, using it as a leverage on the Armenians in the negotiations, but also, practically, it's a huge trouble. It's creating a lot of problems for the safe passage, the roads, etc., traveling from south to the northern part of Armenia. So one of the requests or demands of ours is that Azerbaijan needs to withdraw its forces from the southern territory of Armenia so that we could start the process of delimitation of the borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because that would actually lay the grounds for future peaceful coexistence between the two countries. But Azerbaijan refused this proposal, which there was another proposal which was saying that we should together, both of us, withdraw our military forces from the borders and basically demilitarize this area. Azeris again are refusing to comply with this or to embrace this proposal, and of course these are things that need to be closely paid attention to. One other issue which is of major concern is the cultural heritage, because in Nagorno-Karabakh, as you know, in and around Nagorno-Karabakh, Armenians have been living for thousands of years, and there are several Armenian churches, cathedrals, Armenian architectural masterpieces around Nagorno-Karabakh. And Azeris, unfortunately, ever since the signature, especially after the November 9th agreement, there have been claims that these are not Armenian. There have been attempts to distort or eliminate wherever it's possible the Armenian cultural heritage. And that's why right now, when we speak in the European Parliament, there is a discussion on a resolution which has been co-sponsored by several members of European Parliament, including Greek and Cypriot members, on the situation of the destruction or of the Armenian of the cultural heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh. And the call is, of course, that the first and foremost side to which it is addressed is Azerbaijan, calling to refrain from vandalizing and distorting the cultural heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would like to discuss your country's diplomatic relations to Turkey, our common neighbor. The relations for most of the time were almost hostile, but they seem to be normalizing lately. Do you think that the time has come to forget maybe the historical disagreements between Armenia and Turkey? Is there a way this can happen?
Nobody is forgetting anything. This should be very clearly said. Nobody is forgetting if you are referring to the Armenian genocide. Nobody is, of course, ignoring or forgetting or putting aside the necessity or the importance of the Armenian genocide recognition.
I was only referring to the hostility, of course, not the genocide,
yeah,
which is something that we will discuss.
The hostility was coming from basically because of the Nagorno-Karabakh also. So Turkey, together with Azerbaijan, considers that Nagorno-Karabakh is solved. Therefore, maybe it's an opportunity to move forward with Armenia, although Armenia doesn't agree, and not only Armenia, the international community don't agree that the Nagorno-Karabakh has been solved. But Turkey has agreed to move forward on normalization of relations with Armenia without preconditions. This is very important to understand because there have been already 2 meetings between the special envoys of Armenia and Turkey. And after both meetings, the written press releases of the Turkish Foreign Ministry and the Armenian Foreign Ministry have underlined that the process is moving forward on the basis of the understanding that we are negotiating on the basis without preconditions. This is the first time that Turkey has basically, in a written form, embraced this approach, which has been the line of the Armenian side, actually, for 3 decades. For 3 decades, we have been urging that we would like to have normalized relations with Turkey, open diplomatic, establish diplomatic relations, and open the borders between Armenia and Turkey without any preconditions. And it had been, in the past, it was the Turkish side which was continuously putting preconditions. And now we hope very much that Turkey will stick to this principle, and we would eventually have normalized relations between the 2 countries.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, the relations of Armenia with Greece have always been excellent. There is a thriving Armenian community in Greece, in Thessaloniki. Is there room for even more, a greater development and collaborations between the 2 countries?
If you ask that question to any incoming ambassador, the question will definitely always, of course there is, and that's why we are working, and that's where we will lead the relations. We'll do our best to improve the relations. I believe that your question is extremely important because, in fact, sometimes we believe that everything is so ideal that there is no need to sort of exert the necessary effort in this or that area, because we take for granted sometimes these relations that, the Greeks know Armenians excellently, the Armenians know perfectly the Greeks, so the diplomatic missions, all they need to do is to maintain or sustain these relations. But in reality, the world is moving fast, it's progressing, and diplomats and the diplomatic missions and diplomatic relations are also to be upgraded, updated, and deepened. So I think that in all areas of interaction between our states, there are grounds for deepening the relations. So I can start with the political diplomatic sphere of area, where we can, of course, we can increase the interactivity between both sides, deepen the political dialogue, and hopefully reach a point when we can have strategic partnership between these 2 countries. Of course, including also with Cyprus as trilateral partnership. Secondly, the military cooperation is very good and is deepening and is continuing to do so, but there also we can have more options of cooperation in which we should, of course, both sides should work in this direction. Cultural exchanges should get actually more active because both countries are extremely rich in culture. And it's very hard in Greece, for example, to impress anyone with cultural achievements or cultural masterpieces. But But Armenia has a lot which it can show here in Greece, and in terms of culture, Greece, of course, also can do a lot to share its culture in Armenia and increase the awareness of the younger generation, actually, about our cultural achievements.
Maybe the cities can help in
Definitely,
that.
definitely.
The ties
Yeah.
that Armenian and Greek cities have among them.
Definitely. And also, the other sphere is academic exchanges and academic cooperation. This is extremely important because both countries have traditionally had very firm and very good traditions in academy and in scientific achievements, and we can clearly share in this and enhance this cooperation as well. But most importantly, I want to underline this specifically, is the economic diplomacy, which is something which is one of the hardest areas to achieve visible successes, because this usually takes a bit much longer. The impacts of the economic diplomacy of any embassy is usually becoming visible in a bit longer term. But for that, we need to exert our efforts, because unfortunately, we don't have any joint borders together. Therefore,
how can this be achieved? What would be some ways we can achieve that?
One of the ways is, of course, to make visible and advertise in both countries what each of us can offer each other, and work specifically in these directions to bring in or export or import those products to each other. Sometimes I'm repeating that, or I'm saying that when I have a choice to select this or that product, and if there is, for example, if there is that product made in Greece, when I was, let's say, in Armenia, or if I was in my previous posting in the Baltic states, I would always choose a Greek product, because this is, this is a product which is produced by, first of all, by a brotherly country, number one, and number two, which is the quality of which, in terms of its ecological, aspects, it's top quality for me. Armenia also has a lot of such things, such products, which it can share here in Greece and import in Greece. Both markets are not so big as, for example, other markets that we are exporting our goods. Let's say, be that France, Germany, or Russia, or the United States, let's say. But we need to share each other's products and buy those products, and the consumers need to be educated in this respect, that that it's important to buy, let's say, this or that Armenian product, and it's important to buy this or that Greek product. For that, of course, we need to start organizing visits between the relevant institutions, be that Enterprise Greece, Enterprise Armenia, identifying the areas where we can find cooperation, and also engage the relevant business sectors representatives in those meetings, and try to promote the relations, of course. So there is a lot that can be done, and one of my areas of activity is also economic diplomacy.
Now, I understand that Armenia is taking also great steps in developing the tourism of the country.
Yeah.
There is a transformation. I read recently about 5 small villages. They are transformed into autonomous travel destinations, and they are advertising the local culture, the gastronomic culture,
Yes.
the food especially.
Yes.
How optimistic are you that tourists will embrace these efforts and make an effort to see this beautiful country up close?
Well, what we have seen is that over the last few years, there has definitely been an increase in tourism in Armenia. So the trends are increasing in the positive sense. So what is needed to be done is, of course, to make this more visible in Greece, specifically in Greece. It should be made more visible. Together maybe with our partners and friends in the Aegean Airlines, which has the direct lines flights to Yerevan, from Yerevan to Athens. So together with them and some other partners which have stakes and interests in increasing the tourism activity between Greece and Armenia, we should work in this direction. There is a big inflow of Armenian tourists to Greece during especially the summer period, and immediately before and after summer period. But there is a lot to do in terms of attracting Greek tourists to Armenia. This is something that needs to be done, because you rightly mentioned the gastro-tourism. There is also religious tourism. For example, there are several pilgrimages from several countries, European countries, with groups traveling to medieval Armenian churches scattered throughout Armenia. And these are fantastic places that are worth visiting. And also the Yerevan itself as a city has its own attractions and attractive sites, and the life in Yerevan generally is very, very interesting, very active, and a lot of people are streaming to Yerevan in summer. And for the Greeks, of course, special interest is also the 1st century temple, the Garni temple, which is one of the best preserved Hellenistic temples in the world. And I think every Greek should use the opportunity to see at least once this temple in his or her life.
I would like also to ask you, in what other ways does Armenia work towards its development? What are the advantages of the country over other countries, and in which ways do you think it should be trying to move forward?
Well, first and foremost, Armenia is pushing forward its economic development through its not only through reforms, through trying to attract investors in Armenia, showing its cultural heritage. I wouldn't use the advantage of one country against another country, because every country has its own special, peculiar, features which attract people to it. So what Armenia is attractive with is, we talked about this, we spoke about gastro-tourism, we spoke about cultural tourism, the church tourism, the political atmosphere in the country, which is a free democratic state where everybody has, can enjoy life however he or she likes. I mean, in this part of the world, it's something very special. In our part of the world, that is to say. Also, the IT industries are something that are extremely important in our development, and this is taking speed it's becoming one of the most important sectors of the Armenian economy, and something that attracts a lot of people in the 21st century. This is basically the industry which is most talked about, and which is the area of utmost interest, the artificial intelligence. So in this respect, we have achieved a lot, and which we can share with others, and we share with others actually. For example, the Armenian IT school TUMO has its own branches in Paris, in Berlin, in various places in Lebanon, in Ukraine, so in the US. So why not? I mean, we could export this school also to Greece, and we need to, of course, work in this direction.
I would like to close with this discussion with a question about the Armenian community of Thessaloniki. The Armenians of Thessaloniki were organized into a community in the early 1880s, almost a century and a half ago, and they are one of the most dynamic in the city. Do you want to speak to us about this Thessaloniki Armenian community?
Well, I know that 1,000 years ago there were Armenians here, although formally the Armenians have been formed here rather recently in terms of Greek and Armenian history's lifespan. But 1,000 years ago, there were Armenians here, as we were part of the Byzantine Empire, and the Armenians had their special input in the Byzantine culture and politics. So regarding Thessaloniki Armenians, what I can say, I mean, this is the first time I'm coming here as an ambassador of Armenia, and I'm going to have a meeting with them today and tomorrow. And what I know is it's a vibrant community, very organized, and very patriotic as well. Extremely important, as for Armenia and for Armenians worldwide. It's extremely important to have such communities who are becoming essential bridge between Armenia and Greece, and Armenia and relevant cities. And Thessaloniki Armenians are such. I'm very proud of them, of course, and I'm going to cooperate and work with them in advancing the Armenian-Greek relations.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for this discussion.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for the invitation. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.